Content warning, y'all. We have lots of fun making this podcast, but remember, we watch a lot of R-rated films, use language that reflects that, and joke about heavy topics to create levity around these themes. If that doesn't feel safe or could be triggering, please take care of yourself. We want you to have fun listening too. This also means we might not be suitable for children. Oh yeah, and we spoil the end of all the movies we pod about. Thanks for listening.
I assumed you could.
I know, but I was distracted, is what I'm trying to say. I was doing podcast things. So I couldn't hear.
Fun fact, on the day of Michael T Weiss's birth,
Oh.
Peppermint Twist Part 1 by Joey D and the Starlighters was the number one song on the Billboard Hot 100, and John F. Kennedy, Democratic, was the U.S. president.
Okay. Fun fact. When I was...
On the day that Michael T Weiss was born, the Starlighters gathered round.
So, when I was a kid, I had a crush on my friend's brother, who I thought was super funny. Andrew, he was super funny. And he always made me laugh. And he and I became boyfriend and girlfriend when I was 7 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
How old was he? 17?
He was probably 8.
Teen?
Fuck off. And we were
Barely legal.
going to a Carmen concert.
Carmen concert?
Yeah, a Carmen the Christian singer.
Oh, sorry.
Concert.
Unfamiliar.
It's fine. He's dead, so it's fine.
R.I.P.
So we were going there, and I think that's when Andrew and I became boyfriend and girlfriend, legally speaking.
In the eyes of the Lord.
In the eyes of God. And we got to the concert, and it was in Tampa or Orlando or something like that. So we had to drive quite a ways to get there. And I think the car broke down. It was a whole thing. And so when we got there, all of us kids were just excited to get out of the big vans that didn't have air conditioning in them when, in Florida. So we get out, and Andrew's running down the street, screaming at the top of his lungs, "I'm HIV positive! I'm HIV positive!" And I said, "Do you know what that means?" And he said, "Yep, I'm positive I don't have HIV." And then just kept yelling it, and I was like, oh my God. And that's a story I like to think of a lot. I'm like, okay, that's not. All right, well, glad we're boyfriend and girlfriend. Anyway.
Jeffrey.
So Jeffrey is about before we get real into it.
That's just a little taste of what's to come.
That was just a summary of the film.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to support us, because we do this,
please.
We do this solely out of the goodness of our hearts for you.
Well, look it. We have been talking about working ads back into things. So, sorry, but that has become...
Yeah, we actually need to make money on this, it turns out. And it seems that the generosity of strangers hasn't gotten us too far. Hasn't gotten us as far as we hope. So if you would like for us to not... ads obviously won't be on the Patreon versions of anything. True. So you can subscribe to our Patreon. And
behind the paywall.
Yeah. And then you won't get ads. And you'll get exclusive content. It's patreon.com/ZNKpod. And literally every single dollar counts. we are not too proud to beg. So,
Please, God, please.
But also, you know, if you're like, well, I want to support your podcast, but I don't really have money, that's actually okay. And you can do super free things like following us on Instagram, sharing our posts to your stories on Instagram, following us on Twitter, retweeting us, things like that, sharing our posts, like sharing when we have like a new episode, share it on Facebook, you know, tell your friends about us. Even like little word of mouth stuff. Like I know that social media is a big thing, but yeah, if you have friends IRL, we wouldn't know. We don't. Yeah, just like we're ZNK Pod on all the socials. So if you just search ZNK Pod, we're probably like we have 10 followers. Oh yeah, say it, girl. Oh.
If you're a fan of either of us for personal reasons, but don't want to listen to a podcast, just recommend.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
Even though everybody's over podcasts.
Also, if you hate us and you hate someone else, recommend them to our podcast.
There you go.
Just be like, hey, I hate you and I hate them. You might like this. Mm-hmm.
On the other side of that coin that I described is like what I tell people when I put out music is like, you don't actually have to listen to it. Just give me money.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So
it
takes both.
Yeah.
We're appreciative of both.
Yeah.
Very excited that our episode on the craft.
Yeah. No shock that we had money on and people are actually listening to the episode. People are like, "Oh shit. Someone we actually give a shit about is on the show." Anyway. Yeah, listen to our podcast if you like listening to podcasts. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Yeah. I realized that I was saying the wrong thing in the middle of saying it, so I tried to save it, and that didn't work. Why am I telling people that are listening to listen to our podcast?
Hey, if you listen to this,
try
listening
to
this
podcast.
If you like this podcast, you might like this podcast.
If you like this, wait until you hear this and the rest of the episode and every other episode you've listened to up until now.
Okay, ZNK Pod on all the things.
Yeah.
We love you for listening. We love you for giving us money.
And Keith doesn't use that word lightly, so please understand. Yeah. He's being serious.
I mean, if I knew your name, I wouldn't say it to your face, so take it where you can get it.
Yeah. Thank you. And honestly, like, I put this in all the Instagram posts. I don't know if people read that far, but I'm always like, we're so happy that you're here. We're so glad that you're listening. And it's because every single time I mean it. I write that out every single time. That's not a copy and paste. Yeah. Just so you know. I copy and paste the tags because I don't trust that I'll remember them. But every description is
handwritten. It's like a snowflake.
I used to copy paste, but then Instagram started doing this thing where it would double paste it into the middle of it. So it would say it twice, but like in the middle, and I wouldn't. So sorry to everyone that probably was like, what the fuck is wrong with them? But yeah, I said, because it was just easier to be like, hey, this is, because when people say, sorry, I've had some coffee and not enough food. When people, this is a thing that used to drive me crazy when people use email templates and they're like, just use a template, and then they end up erasing every single thing in the template.
Oh my God,
I'm like,
yes.
Please just write a fucking email. That shit drives me nuts. Or they're like, take this middle part out and then rewrite the whole front part and then take off the end and then rewrite the end. No, wait, actually take off the end. Now, that
this
second to last part. It might be. It might be.
Coworker you had.
It might be. But also, it's just anybody that's ever given me direction on, like, how to write an email. I'm like, I could have done this myself. Thank you. This was a thing this is a thing where I had a job recently. And by recently, I mean, it's been a year
ago.
Where, like, every email I wrote was, like, had to be gone over, which I'm fine with because I was new at the job. But I was like, You know, I used to have a job where my managers would come to me and say, will you go over this email that I wrote to
Impossible.
make sure that it actually sounds accurate? So I was like, okay, this is fun. Anyway. Jeffrey is a film. Yeah, Jeff. Oh my God, you should. I'm saying this. You should put that as and it won't happen because I said it.
You ruined it.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, that's the only thing I've come up with so far is in trying to think of outro music.
Oh well, Jeff. I would love that. I would lose my shit. This was a weird movie. Oh, I guess
not at all what I expected.
No, yeah, for sure, it was not. This is obviously Pride Month.
So obvious.
Next month will be Sloth. No, I'm just kidding. This is.
That's right. For new listeners, we love to go through the 7 deadly sins every year.
Yeah.
What's in the box?
So.
We were on a box. What's the deal with that box?
So Keith and I are breaking up.
You heard it here first. Exclusive.
Yeah, this was a strange one. I didn't know what to make of it, and like close to the end, I was like, I feel like this movie might be out of my depth. We might have, just because it's all about like gay men in the 90s, and I'm like, this is not something that I know enough about to even have an opinion on. But there are things I can have an opinion on, such as how few people of color in this film, and how the only black character is
a waiter,
mocked and told that he is just made fun of basically the whole time. So that's cool. That was a cool thing. Movie chose
30
to do.
seconds he's in the movie.
Well, he's in it for like 45 seconds because he's...
My bad. 2 scenes.
Yeah. He's mocked for having an earring.
Well, by Patrick Stewart.
Okay.
Well, okay. I'm just not saying that like... that could be, just a thing about that character rather than a comment.
Right, yeah. But I mean, like, it's still the only black character in the film gets mocked for how they're, like, for their appearance. And then he says he's bisexual, and then he gets mocked for that.
Oh, yeah, true.
So it's like, okay, cool. This is great.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's some things that the movie chose to do.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's a proportional representation of the gay male population in New York City in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Seems right.
I had such a crush on Michael T Weiss.
See, and...
which is so shocking to me.
Is it?
Yes, because I'm...
Poor KY?
Don't find him attractive at all. And he looks so, like, dudely masculine, and I was so, like, oh,
he's real beefy in this.
I know, which I was like, oh my God, I had no fucking...
He's very familiar, but I couldn't tell you anything I've seen him in.
He was on The Pretender, which I know that you've never seen that, but correct. I was a bit obsessed with that show when I was younger, partly because of what was her name? Andrea something.
Dworkin.
This has fur all over it, and I don't know where it came from. Anyway, I keep getting it in my mouth. That's why I keep being like...
Came from my baho.
It came from...
oh, God, the scene when he's on the phone with his parents.
We like that new Jeff Stryker film, Power Tool 2.
Oh, dear. Do you like it when they shave their assholes?
So I guess, okay, so this movie is called Jeffrey. It stars Steven Weber, notorious gay man. Are you trying to tell me something?
I was just catcalling him.
Oh, okay. So Steven Weber stars as Jeffrey, who is a gay man who, because of the AIDS crisis, decides to become celibate, which then he falls for someone who ends up being HIV positive, and it's him basically not wanting to date this person because they're HIV positive. Meanwhile, his best friends, who are a gay couple, one of which has HIV, like it's like they're his, other, not other life, but like that's, his
Yeah, that's
support
all we
system
see of-
essentially,
What?
his support system essentially. And they, one of them, or the one that with HIV, ends up dying. Which
Spoiler.
was, which was very weird. That whole thing was weird. And then Jeffrey decides to go for it. I don't know, like, and it was strange because I couldn't tell what. I understand that, like, they're saying, like, and I don't think that this is an incorrect message or bad or anything, but I think that the message was supposed to be like, you can't live in fear. Like, AIDS is something that's affected the whole community, and you can't hide from it because you're a part of the community. You can't just like be like, well, I'm not going to get AIDS, so I'm going to avoid everyone that's part of my community, even the people that I love who are affected by it. So I did think that was really interesting, and like, it was saying something. It was trying to do comedy, I think, to make it like not lighter or whatever, but like it felt like it was like, it's part of life, so we can laugh at it too, kind of thing, or like we can laugh around it. But the weird thing was like why he chose to be celibate, and like how that, like, the weird thing for me was that he was like, I want to be celibate because it's too dangerous to have sex. And they're like, okay, we'll just get into a relationship, and then you can just have like safe sex with one person, and then that's it. And I'm like, was that not ever something that you like? How were you just only having sex with like one person and then like moving on to the next? And
Seemingly.
right. And I'm just like, what? I'm like, you never thought you could have, like, here's my critique. This is what I'm saying. If you've never been able to even think of having a partner before, if sex to you was always just one and done, I doubt you're going to be able to have a relationship with someone who is sick, who you will need to take care of. Like, I mean, not to say that, like, but because it's like a relationship is a lot of work, and it's not just about sex. Like, having sex is one thing, having a relationship is a completely different thing.
Well, I mean, one of the way it's framed by Sterling, played by Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
The way he's like, oh, it's like what me and Darius have. He's a dancer in a Broadway show, and it's different than what is, I feel like, how it's actually shown, but the way he describes it is like it's a relationship, but they have their own lives and they're monogamous for safety reasons.
Yeah.
So it seems more like a, it's not what, at least.
Right. Yeah, that's what it seems like he's saying at first. It seems like he's
but
like,
it's not what is shown.
yeah, it's definitely not what's shown.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, there was a lot that happened that I felt. Sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say, like, there's a lot about the initial premises that are presented that are like, I mean, I think it's supposed to be funny that, he also Jeffrey identifies as like a sexual compulsive.
Right,
you see these scenes from, some kind of support group, presumably like a Sex-Anon or something.
Yeah.
which are humorous in their own right.
Yeah.
But like
Ethan Phillips was good.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name is Dave, and I am sexually compulsive.
Hi, Dave.
I love sex. Love it. Maybe it's because I have a constant erection. I mean, like 24 hours a day. Or because my penis is 14 inches long.
Ooh. Hi, Dave.
And Victor Garber and
Yeah. Like I said last night when we were watching it, I was like, Victor Garber was someone that like as a youth and like young adult, I was like, Victor Garber is. I always thought he was so fucking hot, but I like never told anyone because I was like, I don't know why I think this older person is hot. And then, like once I found out he was gay, I was like, oh,
makes sense.
okay, yeah, now I understand.
I know someone who has barely aged.
I'm like,
30,
what,
40 years.
bro? Stop. We get it.
But I think it's supposed to be funny that here's a very promiscuous gay man who's swearing off sex. Isn't that funny?
Right. Or like a gay man can say no to sex kind of thing is like a joke, And I'm like,
yeah.
It's
but
there's a lot I think that I can't. I mean, I want to preface this by saying like
sure it's not.
I don't have the risk. I don't have as high a risk of contracting AIDS. One, because I'm in a monogamous relationship. Believe it or not, I know. Believe it or not. And two, because I'm not. I mean, it is. I don't want to say it's higher for gay men, but it can be sometimes depending on like to contract HIV or whatever. But there's things like PrEP. And there's all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And it's not just that it's less, but it's like you can have a totally full life and be HIV positive. Yeah. Also, I was a little confused because I thought like being HIV positive and having AIDS are two completely different things.
They are conflated in this movie.
Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. Because he was like, I have HIV. And then he was like, I've gotten sick before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so that's AIDS, right? I'm not trying, and it's not me being like, yeah, I didn't understand that. I was like, wait, what?
They also reference AZT in this, which is like one of the first.
Oh, right, yeah. And I couldn't quite tell if this was set like earlier.
The play was on running during 1993.
Wow. Okay.
So it would have been, written before that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's safe to say like early. It's
I was just trying to think 90s. Of like how scary it must have been. I mean, like it's really. I mean, like the next. Obviously, if you're listening to this and you follow us on social media, like the next one we're gonna watch is. What is it?
Torch Song
Trilogy. Yeah, I've never seen that.
Same.
I'm a bad gay in that I grew up very sheltered around anything queer, and queerness was like, do not watch this, like it's unsafe, shit like that. And then like
I've only seen one of the movies that we're watching for Pride.
You've only seen one of them?
Yeah.
Oh,
I haven't seen
that's
this.
right.
I haven't seen Torch Song. I haven't seen Tu Wong Fu.
Yeah, I hadn't seen Jeffrey. I thought I probably had seen Jeffrey because there's a lot of movies like this that I watched in the 90s because I would just watch anything that was like.
Also pick how many movies are there from the mid-90s that are probably independent, have a one-word title with big block letters, and each letter's a different color. There's another movie called Trick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like... I don't know. Like, I feel like in the 90s, there were all of these, like, tragic stories around.
Absolutely.
And I say, like, there were all these tragic stories about AIDS. And it was really, I remember being, like, scared of AIDS and all this shit when I was a kid. And so, like, it was a real thing. I mean, it is a real thing. I'm not saying, like, it's gone now. We don't have to worry. I just mean, like, it was so much different than it is now, obviously. But like,
it's no monkeypox, I'll tell you that.
But it was almost, I don't want to say it was hyperbolized because I don't want to, the actual like ramifications of it were awful, but the fear mongering around it was also horrible because like there wasn't a lot that was understood about it. It was so
For far too long.
yes, for far too long, but also it was like the gay disease or whatever. And it
Absolutely.
was like
The gay
people
cancer.
didn't want it was like people didn't want to be around gay people. People were afraid of gay people. And like I can't imagine how absolutely like there are so many fucking stories of people just like dying alone in
Yes.
hospitals because their family didn't even want to
This
see
is
them.
the hardest part of. There's a documentary about Klaus Nomi called the Nomi Song,
Yeah.
which is a great film, but it is heartbreaking
Yeah.
because he's like one of the first people
Yeah.
of any, celebrity to contract it and die from it.
Yeah.
And you see people, very sincerely being like, I still can never forgive myself that I
Yeah.
was too afraid to see him in the
Yeah.
hospital.
Yeah. I mean, it's also one of those things where like like seeing pictures of it and stuff, it's not something where like watching someone die is not something that you want to do, you know. There was this, I cannot fucking remember her name, but there was this activist. I mean, I shouldn't say there was this woman who in the 90s or maybe the 80s, she was like, I think she was like volunteering at a hospital and like sitting with people.
Oh yes,
and
that's right.
No
She
one would go
she
in.
She lost someone and then
Yeah,
started
and like
sitting with
no one was
people, right?
sitting with people who were dying from
Right.
AIDS. And so she started doing that, and she like had a farm. Like she ended up like living on like a farm and bringing them like home to die with her. And I think, yes, I am going to cry. I
Yeah.
think she like buried them like on her property or whatever. And it's like, it's this part of, and like a lot of lesbians too, took care of gay men that were dying, you know, because they didn't have anybody else. And it's this
And despite the ancient beef between lesbians and gays.
yeah. But like it makes me angry that because of queerness, it was okay to let these people die.
Yeah.
Alone. And that people didn't want to do research because the people it was affecting were people who were like marginalized. And it was, you know, and it's affecting like smaller communities too when it affected like drug addicts, it affected like, you know, people of color, it affected you know, gay people. So no one gave a shit. It was like, okay, this is fine. And then once it started like having an impact on like, you know, the people they thought were deserving of survival or whatever, then they were like, oh, this is a horrible thing. And it's like, you know, I think something that I felt weird about with this movie was that, which I guess is like, you're right. I mean, like, it's an interesting part because there was, but it was like, it felt like it was more like, I'm afraid of AIDS, but not, it wasn't like following his fear. It was just like, he seemed really selfish and not super.
Yeah, that's one thing that I appreciate is
I liked the part with Michael T Weiss where he was like, how come I'm the one that's sick?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm the
You're
one
the one with the problem.
Yeah.
I want you, Jeffrey. I very well may even love you. That means nothing. Hey, that should beat anything. That should win.
I know.
So how come you get to be the one with the problem? Why do I get to be both sick and begging?
Pat Patrick Stewart, I think, did fucking great in this.
Yeah, man, I would say this movie, obviously has a lot to say.
Yes.
My biggest critique is that the tone shifts don't
Yes.
work. And,
Yes.
like, there's so many scenes where there's the gravity it wants and deserves.
Yeah.
Is totally undercut by the scenes.
Correct. Yes.
Leading up to it, like when Darius falls down the stairs.
Oh God.
I couldn't help. It felt almost comical to me. Like,
I know. Well, it was also like, I'm not sick, and then and then the next scene is like him being like, I'm so faint and falling down the stairs, and I'm like, I understand, but like I kind of didn't know that he had AIDS until the scene before.
Exactly. That's another thing I didn't.
I was like, wait, ooh, and then there was the scene where we find out that he's dead. That was like a very strange scene.
Yes.
Again, Patrick Stewart, I think, did great with the material he was given because he's Patrick fucking Stewart. But he's saying like, he says something, and I'm like, wait, do you have AIDS too? I can't tell.
Oh.
Because he's like, I tried to stay away from it, or like I tried to shield myself from it. I tried to keep myself safe from it, and it didn't work. And I was like, are you talking about him dying, or are you talking about the actual like? I can't tell. I can't tell because there's so many. He said I couldn't escape it or something like that. He says something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wait, is he talking about like getting? He's sick too. I can't tell. I can't fucking tell.
I wasn't enough. I wasn't important enough. I couldn't snub it. Couldn't scare it off with a look. Couldn't shield him with raw silk and tassels and tiebacks. The limits of style.
Because there's so many fucking metaphors in this movie, too.
That's true.
The balloon. I'm like, I get it.
No.
Okay. But I'm like,
that didn't work for me.
I mean, I did like the Nathan Lane bit only because I like how he says, like, because I think, I mean, I don't really think you need a priest for this. That was, like, weird, but whatever. Although, shout out to hooking up with a gay priest. But when he says God is the kindness of other people and like the good things in the world, I appreciated that because nice. I'm like, I appreciate that because I'm like, I like that because it's, especially in relation to like gay people and getting sick, it's like God is just the good in the world and like the other stuff just happens, you know?
Yeah.
And because I think there's so much, I like that they didn't do anything with like God loves you no matter what, or like God isn't punishing you. They're saying God is just kindness. God is just something we do, you know.
Yeah.
And I
like that message. But
the balloon is stupid. The balloon was stupid, but also I'm like, if a balloon falls on the grass, it doesn't pop. So they're like, what happens when it pops? I'm like, I know they're called blades of grass, but they're not gonna pop a fucking balloon. Like, get over yourself. But yeah. I'm gonna say this about Steven Weber. I think Steven Weber doesn't have much range.
Agree.
I think he does really good with like comedy, and I think he can do things, but I don't think he's very good at like doing a lot of things at once. Like, I don't think he can do comedy and serious. I think he can either do serious or he can do comedy. I don't think he can do, like, I think he has some comedic timing. I don't think he's the best comedian. I don't think he's the best funny actor out there.
Right. No, it's a very specific
thing
that he can do and does well, and it's becomes very apparent. It's really interesting, actually. We've seen it, I know you were much more familiar with his oeuvre than I was before.
I'm very familiar with Steven Weber.
But now that I've seen him in some things other than Wings, Yeah, it's really fascinating when you see people try to put him in other roles, and when he tries
in roles that aren't fucking Bryan Hackett.
Yeah. Which even that I don't think is like all of his best work necessarily.
No,
like,
it's just like
I feel like I've seen him. I can't tell you what, but like I've seen him in other comedic roles where I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's
yeah.
And that's what's an interesting thing about watching this movie for me is like he does a good job. It's a solid performance. At no point do I believe he's a gay man though.
Yeah, for sure.
And which like,
but I will. Oh, sorry.
I think there's pros and cons to that. Like, because
I think the point was that I think why they tried to like cast him is because they wanted. I mean, and I could be wrong about this because obviously there's like it's a mix of like queer people and straight people in this movie. Mostly straight people.
A lot of straights playing queers though.
But
depending on how you want to call Patrick Stewart.
I was gonna say I don't know about that. He open mouth kisses Ian McKellen like whenever he can.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that Patrick Stewart.
I mean, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course. But like they're besties and they're like love each other so much it's ridiculous. And by ridiculous I mean it's so cute that I want to scratch
I love it
my
because it's like
eyeballs out.
I love that. I mean, clearly their friendship is genuine.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I love the idea that it's like they make out for cameras the way, like straight women are encouraged to make out.
And people are like, please more. Like, and they're two like old men.
Yeah.
And
both
I
in
love
their
it.
70s or some shit?
Yes. I love it because I think like, and that's something like Ian McKellen's like an openly gay, you know, actor. And, that's a big deal. Considering how long he's been acting and shit like that, like that's a big deal. And him and Patrick Stewart, I don't remember. I think they might have become friends because of X-Men, but I don't know for sure. I can't remember.
Right.
But anyway, whatever. But yeah, like
I mean, they became friends because of the Bard.
But I think their intention was like to make Jeffrey not seem stereotypical.
Right. Yeah. That's what I meant by pros and cons.
Right. And I'm like, okay, but Steven, whatever. But at the same time I was like, man, they just like full on like open mouth fucking kiss in this. And I was like,
it's decent chemistry between him and Weiss.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
But
like,
and I feel like they did good with the kissing in the sense that like so many like I judge movie kissing hard. Like I hate it half the time.
It's usually
awful. So like the stuff in this was great. But I was actually like, damn, Steven Weber was still doing Wings when he did this.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a big deal. Like when you're like a star in like a primetime NBC comedy.
I mean, Patrick Stewart was still doing TNG.
Well, he was still doing the movies, but the show itself had ended. I think the show ended in '94. So
one of the trivias is that this is because this is in one of the movies, right? I think this is Generations when he finds out his family dies.
Yes,
has died.
Yes.
Apparently he drew from working on this movie to have his emotional scene in that movie.
Oh, that's kind of sweet and also weird, but whatever.
And that's why in that scene in Generations he's up against a wall.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just keep thinking like Patrick Stewart did such a good job. Also, I think it's not fair if you're Steven Weber and you're like paired next to Patrick Stewart and it's like, do a good job, be the leading man. It's not.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, Steven Weber. No, it's not gonna happen. Wild. It's so interesting. It's very weird because like I feel like Steven Weber was like kind of like this is like a thing that I can't quite figure out. Was he like hot?
Right.
In the 90s? Was that supposed to be what was happening?
Right. I feel like a little bit.
He doesn't follow me on Twitter anymore. It's fine. I mean, he doesn't have a Twitter anymore, so
I feel
I
like
can say these things.
kind of, you know, like I think he was supposed to be up.
Right. And I'm like, why? Like,
I mean, you didn't see Tim Daly doing a lot of shit around this
he
time,
played
did you?
he played a gay in a
Did he?
movie. Yeah, I don't think he open mouthed kissed and dry humped in a gym or whatever.
So I also think this movie suffers from, like, there's a lot of stuff that you were like, are from. I felt like, okay, I see, like, a lot of the weird. There were some bits and sort of tone things about this that I'm like, yes, clearly this came from a play. Right?
Literally,
like there's some things
if
that are
I
like
didn't know, I would have been like, this was a play, right?
Yeah,
Because it
right,
just there's
exactly.
it seems like it suffers from that thing of like, because like I think some films like you can be like, oh, I bet this was a play, or like, oh, I wonder if this was a play. Like I think
yes.
what's that movie we just watched with? It's Grackle, the Grackle. Doubt, yeah. That I believe that was a I believe that was a play because it has such simplistic scenes and like not a lot of crazy things.
Right.
And this one is like I'm like, oh, this had to have had musical elements to it. There's like lots of strangers chasing him through the streets, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like so 90s, but also this screams I was on Broadway or something, you know. So, yeah, there's like a lot of things that I'm like, yeah, I get this, but also I don't think this translates the way it seems like it suffers from like you took it from page to screen, but you didn't actually like someone else probably should have. Yeah, someone else probably should have written it for the screen.
Yeah. Other than
the playwright, because the playwright probably I'm sure it was great on stage, and I was like,
Dubs, same person as I told you earlier, wrote In and Out
and Sister Act.
And Sister Act, yes. Also,
I do love Sister Act.
I'll try to link this. The person you were referring to that cared for dying gay men, Ruth Coker Burks.
Yeah. Wonderful human. And it's
she buried more than 36 of them herself.
Yep.
After families refused to claim their bodies.
Yep. And it's like it's beautiful in that, you know, she let them have a home. Yeah. And she let them have love, you know, before and acceptance, you know, like they were dying, you know. Imagine, I cannot fucking imagine. Now, I think there are times when like somebody's abusive, you know, somebody's awful, and like your parent or your, you know, uncle or something, they've done something horrible to you, and it's like, come to the funeral. It's like, you know what? No, fuck that. I'm not going to the funeral. Fine. That's fine. Even like a sibling or whatever like that. If some, you know, yeah. But if you're mad or refuse to, like, if your kid was like a drug addict or gay, or there was just something that there was no control over it. Like, they did what they could, but there was like you can't help if you're a drug addict. You can't help if you're an alcoholic or if you're sick. Like, those are things that you have no control over. If you get AIDS, those are not things that you can say, you know what, I'm going to decide not to be sick. I'm going to decide not to have this, like, chemical imbalance that makes me, you know, not be able to stay away from fucking heroin or whatever. And, like, just to be like, well, I'm not going to claim my child's body, or, like, I'm not going to, like, be there for my loved one because they made lifestyle choices that I don't agree with. And it's like,
it sound like a choice.
Huh? Right. That's what I'm saying.
It's not.
Right. That's what I'm saying, though.
Well,
they're like,
choice.
well, that's because that's how they say it. Oh, they're lifestyle choices I don't agree with. They didn't choose that shit. You know? I just recorded. So, as I was saying, though, like, having, you know, I mean, I think it's something where people will I mean, I'm speaking from experience as someone who has had family tell me that I'm going to hell because I'm queer and I'm turning away from God and shit like that because I'm queer. There's no part of hearing someone say that the person that you love or the people you choose to allow yourself to love, because it is a choice in the sense of like acceptance. Like you do choose to accept yourself or not. And so it's a choice in that way, but it's not a choice on how you feel. It's a choice on what you do with those feelings. So like you you are gay, but whether or not you come out is your choice. You're trans, but whether or not you tell anyone, that's your choice. Those are the things that are your choice. But it's not who you are that's your choice, you know?
Or who you're attracted to.
Right.
Or who you have feelings for.
Yeah. Or anything. Like, none of those things are your choice. And that goes for, like, whether you're straight or not. Like, I mean, I hear straight people exist. I don't know. But
I'll see it when I believe it.
but, like, there's nothing that I hear in God won't love you if you keep being gay or whatever. Like, that's not going to make me want to be around God. That's not going to make me want to change my life for God. That is going to, if anything, further my, like, it's going to make me want to have less to do with God. It's going to make me want to have less to do with you. It's going to make me want to have less to do with your religion. There's nothing about telling someone that who they are fundamentally at their core is a sin and beyond reproach, and that the only way for them to find happiness is to leave everything that gives them happiness and to be miserable and following God, that and then after they go to heaven they'll be happy or something. Like, there's nothing that seems godly in that. And it's like, it's so wild to me that someone would turn their back on someone because they don't want to be as miserable as you.
You should do like a blog about how to do Christianity correctly.
It's just, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand. And this is the thing. This is like why I don't talk to some of my family, because it's like, I'm not going to listen to you tell me that I'm not going to argue with you. If you think that I'm a sin, if you think that who I love or how I act or what I say, if you think that, like, it's so insane to me, because I grew up in church. And when I tell you the shame and fear and confusion and panic and doubt, it was constant. And once I stopped trying to make myself something I wasn't and accepted myself, I was like, oh, this is how you're supposed to feel.
Right.
And it's not, like, I think that religion and Christianity is based on fear and making people feel bad and making people okay with having little to nothing until they get to heaven, and then God rewards them for all their sacrifice. And I don't think that that's okay. I think that there's something wrong with that as an ideology. But also, if God exists wherever she is, I love when people say that. I love when people are like, people call God a she.
I'm doing a feminism.
Yeah, it's so funny to me. It's so funny to me. Like, it's not actually, like, I feel like it's done in a way that, like, whatever. Anyway, it's never shocking to me, and it always makes me laugh when people do it. Anyway, wherever God is, wherever she's at in this moment, if she's real, she does not give a shit if you have a penis and there's another penis in your mouth right now. She doesn't give a fucking shit.
Imagine being an omnipotent
Right.
being that gave a shit.
Right. No one gives a shit if you're having sex with someone who's like the same supposed gender as you, whatever fucking gender means anyway. No one cares if you're on HRT and you're getting a little, scraggly teenager mustache for the first time, or you're fucking like getting titties or something. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck out there in the universe. Nobody cares. Nobody's looking down and being like, you know what? Yep. Hell for that one. No, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. And so happy Pride. No. But I think with this movie, like the tone shifts, I think really hurt it in the end. I think I
Also
didn't.
the shitty ADR, of which there is a fuck ton.
God. And it was always when there was like a close up of a character. I'm like, how fucked was your mic at this point? That all the close ups are just ADR. And yeah, it was very weird. I don't know what to make of it. I really don't know what to make of it, because I'm like, I don't want to say it was good, because it wasn't.
Not quite.
But I don't want to say it sucks, because I do think it says. And here's the thing: I'm not saying they did great with this, because I think they joke about everything. So I don't think that the jokes were like were trying to be transphobic. I think they were just trying to make light of it, like they did with everything,
Yes.
But I don't think the trans bit was bad for being the 90s.
Agree.
Because Olympia Dukakis plays a mother, and they use like language like transsexual, because at the time I think that was what you were using. Also, that's sort of making a swing back. I don't know. I'm confused about that happening. But
that term you mean?
Yeah. But she's saying like she has a transsexual lesbian daughter, and they're not making a joke out of it. Like, I mean, they do in a sense.
But yeah,
but
it's not
at the expense of the daughter. It's it's like the mom.
Well,
is like it's because the whole movie doesn't have.
Agree. Agree. It fits with the tone of the rest of the movie,
yes.
or as far as it fits with the comedic tone.
Yeah.
Of the rest of the movie. The part that is rough for me is, and Angelique will be having her penis removed. Next.
I just like the. I think it's Patrick Stewart that it's coming right off.
Yeah.
Which is incorrect. Like, they don't actually take your penis off. They just invert it, and they
it's so fast. This is such a weirdly.
Well, they read like your balls become your. If I'm sorry. The balls.
All I wanted to say was
sorry.
This is a weirdly prevalent way of describing
correct
gender reassignment surgery for people born with penises.
Right.
I really don't understand where it comes from. I mean, I think it's mostly I've encountered it as in jokey context, but I'm like, what the fuck, guys?
I think it's interesting because I think people think because you don't have a penis anymore afterwards, right? Like you don't just have like a penis or anything or balls.
Also, lots of people transition without having bottom surgery.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's not even And if you
anyway,
but I think people get confused because they're like, where did it go? And like they don't understand. Like I think that's where the confusion is. Like they're like, oh, do you? Yeah, they're just like, oh, you just take. Like I think I'm not because people will be really fucking stupid.
True.
About how surgeries work. I think they think because you have a hole, they just take it off and then they just make a hole there. I think honestly, and I'm like, that's not.
Yeah.
But what I think, because I've like watched stuff about it and stuff. I'm not sure if I remember correctly, but I think they make the
about the actual surgeries.
Yeah. Yes, the actual. I think you're like they make a vagina out of your balls. I think the
scrotum.
The scrotum is turned into like I think they take your testicles and I don't know what they do with those. Yeah, they're just like, these are fine. They donate
These
them
are
to science.
fine.
They donate them to science. But then I think they turn the penis into a clitoris. Because
Like the
that's what it
glands,
is.
right?
What? Yeah.
The
Yeah.
glands.
But yeah, I'm not sure about
Right.
I've never seen I've seen phalloplasty. I've seen what that looks like. But I don't think I've ever seen is it vaginoplasty? I don't fucking know.
I think it's vaginoplasty.
Yeah,
I
I've
think.
not seen what that looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, because I don't, it's one of those things where I'm like,
the pee hole go, though?
I'm like, I want to know, like, what it looks like, but I also don't.
Care?
No, I do care because
Well,
I'm interested in, I'm
Sure,
fascinated in
I'm
it.
sorry.
But I want to look at it for, like, medical reasons. Like, I've
Yeah.
tried to look up, like, what my, like, because, like, you know, like, a cervix, not having a cervix anymore, I wanted to look up what my stuff looks like now. And I was not having luck with that. It was like, here's what it looks like after
Well,
it's
let's get a
gotten
speculum.
severely after
Listeners,
it's gotten severely infected.
one way
and I'm
you
like,
can support us is donating a speculum.
gross. But how would I see it?
I'll take a picture. Using a little technique, maybe you've heard of it, that I like to call flash photography. It's brand new. They're doing wonderful things.
Yeah, Jeffrey's a weird one. Also, it ends, and I didn't really like this part
Well, I hated the ending.
because he says, "Promise you won't get sick." And,
Yeah,
and
no.
promise you won't die. And he says never. And then he says, "You're lying." Why? You didn't need to do that because, one, we've established
What I don't understand
that's
is why Steve is like, you got it. No problem. Sure.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
like, what? No, none of that. Neither of those things track for the characters.
Right. Also, I'm pissed they didn't show what's his
Him
name.
dying.
No. No. What's his name's funeral? Because he was like, "This is what I want at my funeral. Like, this is how I want it to be." And then
Darius.
they didn't show it.
Darius, played by Bryan Batt, who apparently was actually in Cats during this time.
That's amazing. Oh, I love that. That's fucking hilarious.
Or, I don't know if it was like at the same time, but was
he
famously.
actually. Oh my
in
God,
Cats.
I love that. But yeah, like I'm like,
He's so gorgeous.
oh
to
yeah.
me.
Oh my
Jesus
God.
Christ.
I was like, why can't we see like? And when he
Yeah,
dies,
I
you
know.
see all of like Jeffrey's family, and I'm like, that's not fair. Like, I mean, I know it's like Jeffrey's hallucination or whatever, but I'm like,
No, I
Darius
thought
dies.
that was supposed to be Darius' family.
No, it's Jeffrey's family. It's like it's your aunt, and he's like,
Really?
because he says,
No.
I'm the one that died, right? Not you. That's what he says to him,
Oh.
and it's like, I'm
Yeah,
like,
man. What?
what the fuck? And then they don't even show his funeral. And I'm like, he specifically was saying like all the things he wanted at his funeral.
Yeah.
And like I'm like, why didn't we get to see like people celebrating him?
Budget.
Because I think that's something that's like that I think that was a thing that like Jeffrey didn't, like he was at a funeral for someone who died of AIDS, obviously. And because apparently that's all anyone dies from in this movie. And
Well, to be
like,
fair, he's working as a caterer.
he is, but it's like all his friends knew the guy or whatever. And then he's getting all pissy because they're like having fun and having a good time. And they're like, that's what we want to do. That's our choice. Like, this is how.
Yeah, he's also clearly just a bad gay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that too.
That's not my job to police, obviously.
No. But I'm just like, dude, what the fuck? Like, people, I don't know. This is like such a white thing to me. I feel like people. I have zero fucking desire to have like, I mean, I'm afraid of dying. I don't want to die. I'm not like excited about it or anything like that. I'm not like one of those like jokey joke people that are like, oh, I can't wait to die. No, I don't want to die. I want to live a very long life. Okay? Don't get that wrong. But
that's some Zoomer shit.
Right. When I die, it'll never happen. But if it does, if I die,
Yeah.
I want my body donated to science. And then I don't care. Like, I don't want a fucking funeral. I want people to, like play videos of me being stupid. I want a bunch of music to be played that people think
it's a shame.
it's a shame and say I don't want people. I mean, of course people are going to fucking cry and shit like that. I mean, I hope. I don't fucking know. But
Look,
like
everybody mourns in their own fucking way
right,
anyway.
I don't want
I like the idea of people getting together
yes.
to party.
Yes.
In my memory.
Yes.
Great. But I'm not going to force that on anybody posthumously. And I mean,
yeah, I don't want there to be a gathering is what I'm saying. I don't want people, if you want to gather and you want to talk, that's fine. But I don't want there to be a fucking funeral with my family and friends in the same room. Absolutely not. These are not the same people.
oh yeah,
Like,
that is how
no.
disease gets spread. Right.
Anyway,
You don't
I
get
just
sick, you go to a funeral.
okay. Would you recommend this movie?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I would
I wanted to
definitely-
say that, like, I mean, for as far as queer cinema, well, specifically white cis gay man cinema,
Correct. Yeah.
that I've been consumed. I put this movie both, I mean, literally chronologically, but also, I mean, as far as when they came out, but sort of tonally and like message in between The Boys in the Band, which I know you haven't seen, but that is just high gay drama.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's great.
Yeah.
I think it's a great movie,
Mm-hmm.
and for its time, it is definitely like just the most full bore gay movie.
Yeah.
I think, there's not a lot. It's like I don't think there's any other movie from its time that centers, like, it's just a group of gay men.
Okay.
I mean, it feels, like, I think for modern contemporary audiences, it will feel over the top.
Okay.
At times, that's how it
Right.
felt to me a little bit.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
from,
Yeah.
I'm well into my 70s, so, but so I put this movie between Boys from the Band and Boys in the Band? Shit. Boys in Brazil. It's about a bunch of gay men who are Hitler clones. And the opposite of sex, because the opposite of
yeah,
sex
it did remind me
is sort of post
yeah. Right.
HIV AIDS.
Only 2 years later.
Yeah, right.
From this
but
movie, I mean.
as tonally, right? Like,
Yeah.
He's lost his partner, we assume, from AIDS.
Right.
I
I mean,
feel
they
like-
say that, right?
Do they? I can't
think
remember if
so.
it's explicitly stated.
I don't remember if
that's
it's
what it
explicitly
is,
said,
but that's
yeah.
the implication. And tonally, it's also post that in that it doesn't do the tragic A,
Right. Yeah. There's no tragic
but
A in it.
it doesn't ignore AIDS. It doesn't
Right.
uh,
I feel
ignore hate mongering
right.
from a religious perspective. It
Mhm.
doesn't
Right.
ignore alienation from family.
Right.
It doesn't ignore isolation
Yeah,
or the
misconceptions,
exploitation of, like the whole thing where the kid accuses him of
Yeah.
abuse. Is still a comedy
Mm-hmm.
overall, but says things.
Absolutely. I think it does. I was thinking about that. I was like, man, like the opposite of sex does a better job of like
A lot
saying
of,
like you can't let the tragedy of AIDS keep
Yes.
you from loving someone.
but part of that is that it's in the background of the story. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah, yeah,
really,
yeah. Right.
it's not centered.
Right. I'm saying, but it still does a better job of like getting that message across.
Yes.
It's not even the
I-
main message, and it's like,
Yeah.
by the way, you can't stop fucking living.
And
just
the main
because
character is not a gay man, so
It's
I
true.
mean,
Yeah.
he's-
So it's equal. No.
right.
It's also the main character
So-
is Martin Donovan, who's hot AF, and is my the still from Opposite of Sex. Mainly Martin Donovan's face is the still of on my computer, like when
Oh,
my
it is?
computer's asleep. Yeah, it's from Opposite of Sex.
Oh, I thought it was from Trust.
No, it's from Opposite of Sex. Because he's doing this, he's doing a little smirk, and I'm like, ooh.
Oh, I also want to say that my favorite part was the Nathan Lane part.
Oh,
It's
same,
got lots of problems,
absolutely.
obviously, but oh my god, he fucking steals this movie.
He absolutely does.
I am so horny.
Do you know what it's like in here?
Father, I abused myself 8 times last week. Father, I'm attracted to my brother-in-law.
Father, I'm having impure thoughts about my soccer coach. Where are the Polaroids? What am I, a mind reader? Say 6 Hail Marys and bring me your shorts.
I've found in watching like Birdcage and even in seeing Only Murders in the Building and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I think Nathan Lane's actually fucking great. And I don't think I ever really realized it before.
Same.
I'm like watching him and stuff and I'm like, is Nathan Lane fucking amazing?
Right.
He might be fucking amazing.
Right?
Sorry that I never realized before because
Yeah.
I wasn't like sexually attracted to him, so I didn't obsess over him like a lot of other people. But like,
my perception before we started doing all this, like, you know,
I thought he was just over the top. That's always how
exactly.
I thought of him. And I'm
Right.
watching him and stuff, and I'm like,
He's not.
you're actually doing exactly what needs to be done in this scene, and you're doing it so well. And what the fuck? I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's-
what?
yeah.
Like especially like Birdcage, I was like, oh my god, he's so good in this. Like he was so good in that, and it was like it was another one that was like not tragic, you know, and yeah, you get like it's telling like a story of like, you know, difficulties of queerness
Right.
without being tragic, you know? And I'm like, okay. And Nathan Lane's great in it. And yeah.
Oh, also,
yeah.
Catherine Baranski also in this, as well as
Christine
Nathan Lane.
Baranski?
Christine, sorry.
And
Catherine.
Sigourney Weaver, which I just wrote down. Sigourney Weaver's so fucking hot. She's so fucking hot. She's
Yeah, that
so
little bit
tall.
with her and
That was great.
Jimmy. It's pretty funny.
Oh, I love Kathy and Jimmy. Oh my god, I fucking love Kathy and Jimmy. I think Kathy and Jimmy. I'm gonna say this, and this is gonna sound controversial. I don't want the. I like. I miss fat Kathy and Jimmy. She was so.
Oh, is she not fat anymore?
Not really. I mean, you know, she's just. I mean, she probably in Hollywood standard, she's morbidly obese
Sure.
because whatever. But like her and Sister Act, oh god, I loved. She was big in that, and I love it. I mean, I'm not saying like, girl, gain that weight back. I'm not like policing her body. I just mean like.
No, I mean it's nice to
something
see
where-
normal-sized people on camera.
She's so fucking funny.
And you know, there's that, of course, the stereotype of like the fat person is always the comic relief.
Right, which is bullshit.
But for me, it's always like, no, I automatically feel at ease with that person because it's like someone I probably actually know. and
Also,
like-
also, they happen to actually be the funniest person in the movie. Usually,
correct. Yeah, right.
Like,
I mean, sure, they learned how to be funny at an
Right,
early
yeah.
age because they got teased all the time, but
it's working.
worth it.
No, it's working. It's working. No, but I do like. I think she's so fucking funny in this. Like the small bit she's in this,
She's great.
I was cracking up. I mean, her and
I
Sigourney
wanted
Weaver.
that scene.
Yeah.
I wanted to like that sequence better than
I just liked
did.
when Sigourney Weaver's like, "How was your relationship with your mother?" And she's like, "Good." And she's like, "Don't lie to me. I'll call her."
I
fucking love it.
know.
So fucking
That
good.
was so good. I said I would cast. I would cast Jane Lynch in that role.
We watched an
Sigourney
episode.
Weaver.
We watched an episode of The X-Files that had Jane Lynch, and I wasn't even
Lightning
inebriated,
strikes.
and I was just like going the fuck off on what I would let Jane Lynch do to me. I was like, she looks like she could throw me down a flight of stairs. I was just like, I'm so attracted to Jane Lynch.
I love.
And I think it's
that
because
this is
she's tall and she could carry me. Oh my god, Jane Lynch! If you ever want to carry me around, I would be amenable.
I
to
like that what you and I have in common when it comes to our attraction to women is wanting to get physically abused.
I know. I want to punch all men in the face and spit down their throats. Not all men, but like if I'm attracted to a man, yeah. If I'm attracted to a man, it just means that I want him to lick my shoes and
Close one.
like cry on the floor or something, and I'm like, woo.
Check.
If
Done
I'm
and
attracted
done.
to a woman, I want her to be tall enough that she can choke me in a bathroom and my feet
Lift you off the ground.
Yeah, and my feet are just dangling off the ground. That's what I want in a woman. Like those are
Amen, brother.
There's this oh my god, you know that I was the person when I worked at the bank and I was attracted to oh my god, I was so attracted to her. She was like probably 6 feet tall. She was
I just
a
found
big
out
lady, and
that
she would just look at me, and she would roll her eyes at me, and then smile, and I'd be like,
sploosh.
"Yep, you could do it. You could take me in the bathroom."
I just learned that Ijeoma Oluo is 6 feet tall. I would have never guessed that.
Really? I didn't know she was 6 feet tall, but I thought she was like 5'11" or something. I thought she was really tall. She looks
was-
tall.
Not to me. I don't know why.
Well, I
just
think I've
always
seen
thought-
her stand next to other people. So
I have too,
but
but
I
I just
didn't
assumed
think
they
that-
are also. Like, I don't think she was tiny, but
right. Yeah.
average.
I didn't know she was 6 feet tall. That's crazy. I thought she was like, anyway, tall women. Jesus fuck.
I'm sure there's a Spark song about that.
I don't know that I would. I mean, this is the thing. I feel like Jeffrey is something that I would recommend as part of queer history. I mean, the same for like,
No, exactly.
but it's not
pretty
something.
much any movie with it centers on the gay character.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a document, if nothing
Yeah,
else. Right?
exactly,
Like, Are you
exactly.
gonna watch this, or are you gonna watch Philadelphia? Are you gonna watch this, or are you gonna watch Angels in America?
100%. Right. Yeah. All of them. Please.
You tried to watch Angels in America.
I've never seen it. I only partially want to watch it because of who's in it, because I love the people that are in it. But I've never seen it. I've never even tried to watch it because I'm like, would I even?
I just remember it being rough.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've never seen Philadelphia.
I just remember that there's a scene where he's.
I just remember that
where he's having a like.
Bruce Springsteen contracted HIV from doing a soundtrack.
Fuck you. I just remember I watched it on TV, I think, as a joke or as a kid, and there's a as a kid, sorry, and there's a joke in the movie, like he's telling like this story of like homophobia in the workplace or something, and it says like how to. I think one of the like older gross men that work at his law firm or wherever he works says, how does a gay man fake an orgasm? And he's like, he throws a tub of yogurt on a guy's back or something. And I remember being like, Mom, what's that mean? I don't get it. She was like, it doesn't matter. She did not want to explain that to me. She was like, it's nothing. It's not a good joke. I was like, what? I was like, yogurt, Mom. But then I'm like, was that like dubbed over for TV? Because I can't believe I saw that on TV, and I'm like, what did it really say? If that's what it really said, then why did the TV
I remember
allow
my
that?
favorite homophobic joke
was just random teenagers seeing you on the street and saying,
Yeah,
that's
just
a
saying,
dude?
hey, fag.
My favorite story is the one where you were like running and someone was like, oh, that's a guy or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that happened here when I first moved here, and it was a lot more svelte and wearing some distressed skinny jeans. I was just walking through a park, cutting through a park in our group of youngins. And by the time they were, like, to my back, I heard one of them say, that's a dude? And the story I like to imagine happened was that
they were checking you out.
Yeah. And then, like
someone was like,
hopefully a young woman in their group was like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for listening.
Yeah, no, I think this is a good.
Jeffrey's wacky.
Yeah, it's weird. I definitely think I think that 90s queer cinema should be viewed no matter what.
Just queer cinema in general.
Yeah. Well, yes, but I think 80s, stuff that happened in the 80s and 90s are definitely like things that were like, like especially independent stuff.
I also thought of the opposite of sex because, they talk about like swearing off sex.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
What's her name? Lucia?
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's Christina Ricci's character.
Yeah. Gosh,
How about Robert Klein in this movie? I just want to point out that Robert Klein is in this movie for 2 seconds.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, watch it. Happy Pride. We
Watch it or don't. I don't know.
We're here. We're queer. Get used to it.
Or don't. I don't know.
Yeah, or just like fuck off or something if you're not going to.
This is a big old not straight podcast. I'm
right,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm not sorry, but like.
No, yeah.
If you're
uncomfortable with that, you probably shouldn't.
You're probably not here. So
yeah. If you're uncomfortable with that, ask yourself why, and then get comfortable with it.
Go
and
see a
keep
priest.
listening. Go see a priest. Have sex with him in front of a friend, and then, yeah, it's fine.
Never be able to live up to it. You want to get sick, you go to a funeral.